Hello, and welcome back to episode 5 of the Old Timer's Tales. Here in this series, the old-timer Jayanta Kumar Nath would introduce you to amazing tales from all across the globe, belonging to diverse genres. All these stories are a part of an anthology, the book titled Contemporary Global Fiction. These stories have been wonderfully compiled and edited by Dr. Susmender Jeet Kaur. The book has been published by Penprints India Limited, Kolkata. Today, the story we would listen to is Transformation, written by Professor Dr. Yogesh Chandra Sood. Author Dr. Sood has spent 41 years in the field of academia and retired as HOD English of a college. He has served as principal of 2 colleges and professor in 2 universities, wherein he mentored MPhil and PhD scholars. He has authored more than 700 poems, 8 stories, and some prose articles and research papers in English. Well, if you love these kinds of stories, please press the like button on the screen and subscribe to the channel for more of these tales. So let's start.
Transformation. Dr. Yogesh Chandra Sood. Shamsher and Aslam were neighbors. Their shops were also adjacent to each other in the main bazaar of the city. The friendship was a notable example of Hindu-Muslim unity. Shamsher's son Vinod and Aslam's son Ajmal were almost of the same age. The marriages of the sons of both the friends took place almost simultaneously within a gap of a couple of months. After a year of marriage, Ajmal was blessed with a son who was named Wasim. But Vinod had no issue. Life was going on at its usual pace by the grace of divine power. Shamsher and Aslam would sit in routine in a bar after closing their shops in the late evening. They would take drinks together and gossip on diverse family and business matters. One night, the duo took drinks in the bar and I had a heated argument on some sensitive issue. The hot words of the argument turned into quarrel in no time as both of them were intoxicated. Under the influence of liquor, Aslam suddenly picked up a knife lying on a nearby table and stabbed it on the belly of Shamsher. Shamsher began to bleed profusely. He was taken to the hospital, but his life could not be saved as he breathed his last in the hospital. There was a panic in the whole area, and the newspapers projected the tragedy from communal angle. There was a lot of confusion and chaos around. The police, too, came into action immediately, and Aslam was arrested. There was a trial in the court of law for about a year or so, and on the basis of evidences and circumstances, Aslam was sentenced to 5 years rigorous imprisonment. Aslam was sent to jail. The brutal killing of his father shattered Vinod badly. He was so terribly shocked that he resolved to take revenge on the abrupt assassination of his father at the hands of Aslam. The thought of revenge constantly haunted Vinod. He had made up his mind to kill Aslam as and when he was released from the jail. The wheel of time moved on and on. After 2 years of this mishap, a kind of disaster, Ajmal and his wife died in a fatal road accident. There was no one to look after Wasim. The people living in the street somehow took care of the infant. Keeping in view the good behavior of Aslam and his instant dire family circumstances, the court, with its own judiciousness, and of course on the recommendation of the government, as well took pity on the convict and released him immediately by reducing his pending sentence. Thus, Aslam came out of the jail. He came back home. That very night, holding a knife in his hand, Vinod furtively jumped upon the wall of the house of his enemy, Aslam, and stood on the threshold of his room. he heard the voice of Aslam, who was talking to his grandson Wasim. Vinod stopped there for some time and tried to listen. Aslam was saying to little Wasim, "My dear child, I am grief stricken on the death of my son Ajmal and his wife. But more than that, I feel offended and crestfallen that my impious hands took away the life of my brother like friend Samshed. All this happened due to my drunkenness. I never wanted to kill him, but it happened due to intoxication. Allah has punished me for my guilt by snatching away from me my dear son and daughter-in-law. Forgive me, my Allah, I accept your verdict with my head bowed down." Vinod kept standing there. He was watching everything. Aslam was weeping bitterly. He was immensely sorry for his misdeed, a crime. There was a change of heart of Vinod. It was utter transformation. He came to know that the killing of his father was not with any bad intention. It was just by chance or accident. It was due to the heat of the argument on the spur of the moment. It could happen to anyone under the given conditions and circumstances. Vinod pardoned his Aslam uncle. He was no longer vindictive. He had no ill will against him. He solidly came back home. He was perfectly at peace with himself and the world. But life doesn't even run smoothly. It has its own twists and turns. After some time of the release from the jail, Aslam fell ill. The doctors said that he was suffering from cancer. They also opined that he was a guest of a few days in the world. Aslam was not worried about his own impending death, but was definitely a matter of immense anxiety and grave concern for him that what would happen to his grandson Wasim after he was no more. He was very upset and disturbed about it. He shared his problem with his well-wishers and benefactors, including Vinod. Vinod talked to his wife about Aslam uncle's problem. With her consent and Aslam uncle's willingness, Vinod legally adopted Wasim as his son. Vinod's wife was very happy to have a son in the form of Wasim. There were tears of joy in the eyes of Aslam. When he was on the deathbed, he said, "Now I shall die peacefully. I shall meet my friend Samsher in heaven and ask for his forgiveness for the sin committed by me against him on earth." With these last words, Aslam departed from the scene of life. The newspapers mourned the tragic demise of Aslam and also appreciated the goodness and generosity of a Hindu family for adopting a Muslim child. Now it became crystal clear to one and all in the society around, like the broad daylight, that Samsher's death was a matter of mere chance or coincidence without any malified intention of Aslam. It goes without saying that time is very powerful and it answers even the most complex and complicated problems at the right appointed hour. Life again began to flow nicely and rhythmically like water over a rivulet for Vinod and his family. Now it was the sacred and imperative duty of Vinod and his wife to nurture their adopted son Wasim in the best possible manner, and they were doing it fine. They would give every comfort of the world to the dear son. The couple also decided to keep Wasim away from business. They wanted him to go for higher education and become a high officer in life. Good intentions always yield good results. Wasim was undoubtedly a perfect, exquisite blend of Hindu-Muslim cultures. Vinod and his wife had imposed no restrictions on their adopted son Wasim. They were very secular and liberal in the matter of religion. They had given him absolute freedom in religious affairs. Rather, they wanted Wasim to follow Muslim rites and rituals so that no one might say that Hindu parents deprived a Muslim child of his own religion. Otherwise, too, Vinod and his wife were no fanatics, and their flexible approach towards religion won them huge applause and acclamation in the society around. Though they were true Hindus having full devotion and faith in their own culture, values, and traditions, yet they would also show proper respect for other creeds. Generally speaking, it never pays to be rigid in the life in general and religion in particular. Wasim was growing up into a promising youth with the passing of time. He was an illustrious son of illustrious parents. After finishing his schooling, he joined the college. He was very brilliant in his studies and often stood first in his class. Culturally and ethically, too, Wasim was very strong and well placed. By the nod of Allah, he turned up to be a very handsome and religious young boy. Like his parents, he was secular in his outlook towards religion. He would follow Muslim traditions from the core of his heart. He would go to the mosque regularly as per the dictates of the Muslim culture and observe all rituals relating to this creed. At the same time, he would also go to the temple without fail to bow down his head before God. He staunchly believed that God is one with whatever name we call him, God or Allah. Thus, Wasim was an idle young boy. Everyone around admired him hugely. Vinod and his wife were proud of their adopted son. They were always ready to do anything for him. They would fulfill each and every big or small demand of Wasim happily. Sometimes when Wasim fell ill, Vinod's wife would sit by the side of the bed of her ailing son the whole night and pray for his early recovery. Vinod too would remain worried about his well-being and good health even when he had a slight headache or fever. Nobody could judge from their affable and benevolent behavior that Wasim was their adopted son and not the real one. That marked the beauty of this relationship. On his part, Wasim too was utterly fond of his parents. He was devoted to them like an obedient son. Wasim often urged his parents not to worry about him unnecessarily, otherwise they themselves would fall ill. He knew it well that had his real parents been alive, they would not have looked after him so well. Wasim also took a lot of care of his parents, who were growing in age now. He would carry out all their orders. He would serve them well. If they had a bit of cough or cold, he would take them to the doctor despite their reluctance. He would give them medicine in time. He wanted to give his parents, Vinod and his wife, all happiness of the world, bearing in mind the sacrifices made by them for him. The trio were a perfect illustration of an ideal parent-son relationship. People often wondered and admired so much love and understanding between Hindu parents and their adopted Muslim son. Vinod, his wife, and Wasim had demonstrated to the world that function of religion is to unite and not to divide. The three had proved that no religion is bigger than mankind. People would quote the example of Vinod's family in the name of religion. Time was always on the wings. When the ongoings of human existence are rosy, sweet, and elegant, it flies swiftly without staying even for a moment and without one's knowledge of it. The winds were blowing in the right direction for Vinod and his family, and the boat of their life was sailing to the shore smoothly. It seemed as if, in the twinkling of an eye, after leaving his college, Wasim completed his education at the university with distinction. He was a very smart, accomplished young man, now brimming over with the deep knowledge and polished etiquettes. He appeared in the Indian Administrative Services examination and came out with flying colors. He stood third in the inter-country. After undertaking the mandatory training, he was appointed as Deputy Commissioner of a prestigious district of the country. Wasim was very happy as he had done his parents proud. Vinod and his wife were jubilant toward the thumping success of the son in the professional career. They thanked Allah for showing them this day. They made obeisance to God for bestowing His choicest blessings upon their adopted son. They rejoiced themselves in the moment of glory and pride of their son Wasim. People congratulated Wasim on his glorious, eye-catching performance in the top competitive examination of the country. They also extended him their felicitations on attaining the rare coveted administrative post. Vinod and his wife accepted people's compliments and good wishes thankfully in the name of God. Newspapers highlighted Wasim's success prominently by making a specific and emphatic reference to the contribution of his Hindu parents in his achievement. It was an hour of triumph for Vinod and his family. While interacting with the print and electronic media, Wasim said, overwhelmed with profound emotion, "Up to divinity, the credit of my success goes to my dear father Vinod and my beloved mother who lent me their unending and unfailing support, and it is the outcome of their hard work and inspiration that I have reached this position in life." Wasim further added, "As a son, I remember my real parents on this day who gave me birth, but I have no hesitation to say that they even could not have done so much for me as my father Vinod and my mother who brought me up, adopting me as a child, have done for me. I owe them my great success." On hearing these words of admiration from the mouth of their adopted son Wasim, there were tears of joy in the eyes of Vinod and his wife. They felt that even their real son might not have given them the same love, respect, and honor which their adopted son Wasim had given them. They were so happy. On this occasion, Wasim also remembered both his grandfathers, Aslam and Samsher, by paying them rich compliments. Wasim's scintillating success and the growing contribution of the Hindu parents in it was the talk of the town. The media had thrown plenty of light on the love-hate relationship of the three generations of the two families. The complete transformation of the heart of Vinod in improving and strengthening the affinity between the two families was also discussed at length by the media. Hindu-Muslim unity as the need of the hour too was emphasized through the example of Vinod, his wife, and Wasim. There was another happy news to add to the ongoing existing festivities. Vinod and his wife had settled their adopted son Wasim's marriage with a Muslim girl. It was also decided that the marriage would be celebrated with a combination of dual rituals and traditions of Islamic and Hindu religions. It is heartening indeed to see two creeds, two culture joining hands with each other. Everyone around was very happy with the spread of communal harmony. Hindu Muslim oneness brought a big smile on the face of everyone.